Welcome back, and as you can see, we are starting our championship in the Cup Series. We finally made it to the Cup Series. You can see our car is not the most upgraded. I probably should have got two super speedway cars, but I was really trying to use, or two speedway cars. I was really trying to get a super speedway car to get the best position I could in the Daytona 500 so we could get the most money. But we'll get it figured out. So today I'm going to use our super speedway car, of course, 80, 78, 78. And we're going to be on normal difficulty. I find that normal works pretty well when you have those lower numbers so that you're not all the way in the back. So I have no dreams of winning the Cup Championship this season. Do I have a goal? I'd like to finish in the top 20 in points. And a great goal would be to finish in the top 15 in points. So, now next season, that's a different story because we will have went through a whole season, got some money, upgraded our team. Next season, depending on where my cars are and what they look like, numbers-wise, I hope to finish in the top 10. But as for this season, we're a small team.
We're live from Daytona International Speedway for today's running of the Great American Race. Another season of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup racing is about to get underway. The drivers are in their cars and the sold-out crowd is on their feet. It's time for NASCAR racing.
Didn't want to step over Rick Allen there. He's kind of a legend. But we're going to go Cup racing. These races are going to be at 13% because I find 25% is pretty. They're about 45-minute long videos, and that's a little bit too long. I mean, I enjoy racing the longer races, but I think the videos are too long, and then you have to do a whole lot of editing to narrow it down. I'll just run the shorter races and skip all that. So as you can see, I'm in the Pro Core 28 car. My favorite driver, if you haven't already noticed, was Davey Allison. So I run the 28, and I try to run paint schemes close to what his car looked like. Now this particular template here, it's the best I could do. It's the closest I could get. So we'll go with what we got. There's old D. Benedetter. We're going to give him a little shot here.
Still there?
Well, we didn't get a chance to. He ran away from us. But it is the Daytona 500. And obviously you step up the series, you step up the money, but you also step up what you got to pay. So we're going to have to pay out. We got to pay if we want to play, right? So I'm just kind of feeling it out here this first few laps. See where our car is and how it shakes down. Typically the super speedways are a little bit easier. And I find that Bristol's easier too than a lot of the other tracks. You can use the same difficulty level, but you end up either winning the race or getting a top 5. When at other tracks you might not.
Car high, careful there.
And I also find with super speedways, the more friends you make, the more draft partners you get, is going to help you a lot. Because if you hit someone and then they turn into being your draft partner, then anytime they're behind you, hopefully they will help you. And I need all the help I can get right now because my car is not up to speed at all. Now again, I'm not going to be uploading every race to YouTube, because that would be a ton of races. But I'm going to upload the ones that are either exciting, have good finishes, or they're just crown jewels like Daytona, Darlington, Bristol, Charlotte, potentially Charlotte. I still have a hard time racing that track for whatever reason. I like Watkins Glen, some other tracks. So we'll see what it looks like as the season goes on.
Still there?
I'm going to be quiet for a minute and let you guys listen to the sounds and
Outside.
immerse yourself in the video.
Got a car high now. Outside, outside. Clear high, clear high. Stay low, stay low. Keep it going. Car on the outside now. Careful, still there. Stay on the bottom here. Careful, still there.
Well, we're coming around to have one lap to go in the stage, right behind Kevin Harvick. I don't know what Kevin Harvick's doing back here. What are you doing? Now, see, he turned into our draft partner. So, I'm going to remember that, and in the future of this race, I'm going to try to get up behind him anytime I can and see if he'll give me a push.
Still there.
So our first stage in the Cup Series, full time. Obviously, I'm going to keep the Xfinity and the Truck Series teams that I have and the money and all that. But I think your money carries over from series to series. Whatever money you have in the bank is what you have in the bank, no matter what series you're running. So I'm going to keep that. And who knows, at some point I might go back and run another Truck Series season, which I know that's not typical of real life, but we're going to come around to finish stage one now. 31st place. That is not going to work. I'd like to get a top 20 in this race if possible. Now everybody's going to pit, so I'm going to pit too. Turn the tape up a little bit. We're not too hot, not overheating, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Tighten the car up just a smidge. Try to stay off of that yellow line down there. And we lost 9 spots on pit road because my pit crew is not where they need to be yet.
We're going green. Almost ready now. Car there on the inside.
Here we go, and we're going to start stage 2 right about now. We're going to get down behind Chris Buescher. Obviously, we're in last place. This is one thing that always scares me. If you're last and no one is pushing you and you lose that front draft, you're done. So I do everything I can to hang on. If you have at least one car behind you, you've kind of got a safety net. I wonder, have any of you ladies or gentlemen heard if they're going to come out with another patch for this game, or is that pretty much it? I know they came out with one. I don't know if they're scheduled to come out with another one. I'm hoping they do, because there's still some things that need to be fixed. A couple of things I'd like to see still be fixed is... Come on, Chris, give me a push. Or I'll give you a push since I'm behind you. Give me some draft. I'd like to see friends and rivals. I'd like to see that system upgraded a little bit. Because again, like I've said before, you can run into a car all race and they don't say anything to you. But then you barely touch a car and they're really mad. So I'd like to see that updated and improved. Real Radman had a good idea. He said he would like to see a button that you could push to either put your hand out the window and wave and say thank you, or put your hand out the window like Bubba Wallace does at times and say, you're number one, I'm not happy with you. That would be pretty cool. Now NASCAR would never allow that. They might allow you putting your hand out the window to say thank you, but they wouldn't allow anything negative, and I get that.
Hold your line, driver.
Now see, there's Kevin Harvick up behind us, and since we gave him a push before, turned him into a draft partner, now he's going to be our draft partner.
Still there?
I would also like to see the simulated races updated, because again,
Still there?
if I ran this race, I'm not saying this happens every time, but a decent bit of the time, if I were to simulate this race with a short track car, you know, I'd end up with a 25th, something like that finish. But if I simulate this race with a super speedway car, even if it's all 95,
You're clear there.
I'm going to end up like 35th. I don't understand that logic. I think if you're simulating races and you have a car that's fully upgraded,
Clear all around.
or around, mid-90s at least, you should be expecting to get top 10,
You're all clear up top.
top 15 finishes every race. And I get why they don't do it. They don't want people simulating every race, because if they're simulating every race, they're not actually playing the
Great
game.
job, driver.
They want you to play the game. I kind of feel like it's a penalty. If you're like, I'm just going to simulate this race, then the game is saying, okay, if you want to simulate it, that's fine, but you're not going to get a good finish. So I get where they're coming from, but that system, that algorithm needs to be looked at.
Hold your line. Got one outside.
Well, we're still back here in 31st. My goal is 25th, but my goal is the top 20.
Down the bottom.
I think that's definitely attainable with the car that we have. Is it hard work? Yes, it is not easy. You just got to get that.
I need 2 more good laps.
Got to
from you.
get that right
Careful. Still there.
run where everything works out perfectly, because we've got the speed.
Still there.
And you can see that's something I don't see very often. Keselowski actually gave the 6 a push. It didn't really seem to push him forward as much as when someone gives us a push. But he did give him a push, so I like seeing that.
Careful. Still there.
Last lap.
All right, let's go. White flag.
And obviously, speaking of super speedways, Talladega is this weekend, so super speedway racing is coming, and probably the big one. And I'm in the fantasy draft, or fantasy
Still
league.
there.
I have no idea who to go with, because whoever you go with is probably going to end up in a crash. But that's the fun of it.
Careful. Still there.
There's Blaney giving us a push, but obviously you get up to Landing Castle and you can't go anywhere. That's why I have to sneak underneath. There's Alex Bowman on the high side.
Careful. Still there. Nice driving that stage.
28th. Well, we're getting where we want to be. I'm not there yet, but we're going to keep trying. Let's go back racing. We are 28th. My goal is to finish in the top 20.
Coming to the green, driver. Almost ready. Inside. All right, you're clear. Hold your line. Got
Coming
one
around to
outside.
start the final stage now. Blaney's going to go back by us. We always seem to start really slow on the restarts. Then everybody passes you and you're by yourself in the back, and it's really annoying. Either we need a different
Looking
gear,
inside now.
or we're
Still
just
there
too slow.
inside.
Look at that. All those spots we
Looking
made
inside
up,
now.
gone. All those cars we passed, passing us right back. That's really annoying. Now see, we helped Brad Keselowski earlier, so now he's going to help us. I'd still like to... Whoa, oh boy. Keselowski, here he comes. Well, he's going to pass us now, but... I'd still like to see the physics worked on a little bit, because the cars... If you look at the center line of the car and below it, when the car is in the corner, it looks like the car is sitting on jello. The suspension looks like it's made out of jello, because the car just has a lot of travel in it, and these cars are sitting on the ground pretty much. They're not traveling. The ride is very harsh, but the car looks like it has a lot of play in it, like the suspension is filled with marshmallows. That's the best way to describe it, and it's real floaty, and it's not stuck in the pavement. It's not stuck to the track. I'd like to see that updated. Now, the cars themselves look really good. They did a really good job with that. And they do drive differently.
Wow, that was
I kind of thought people were just making that stuff up, and I was like, yeah, right, whatever. But when I got in the Cup car, I really found that the package that Cup is using is the package that they're using in this game. At the 1.5-mile tracks, they're using the 550 horsepower package. You can pretty much hold it wide open at those tracks. And I'm like, they really did use the package.
Car outside.
So that was a surprise to see.
Careful, still there.
And it's, you know, it's realistic because that's what the Cup Series is using. Like Kyle Busch has said many times, he's not a fan of the package because you hold it wide open. There's nothing you can really do as a driver. You're already wide open. You're at the mercy of the aero and whatever it gives you for that day. So he said there's not much you can do as a driver because you're kind of dependent upon the aero of the car because you can't push the pedal down anymore. It's already to the floor. And I get his frustration. But I also get there is a lot of passing, and sometimes drivers say, well, you can't pass anybody. And, you know, that is somewhat true if you're at a bigger track with lower horsepower. You got it held wide open. There's still that bubble of air in between your car and the car ahead of you. It's hard to break that bubble of air, and now it's especially hard because you can't push the gas pedal down anymore, and you're both going the same speed. So I get it. And to be honest, every driver at the Cup level is an amazing driver. I've heard Cup drivers that are 30th, 35th every week say, you know what? I might be 35th in the Cup Series every week, but I'll bust your ass every night of the week if we get in similar equipment. And that's true. They just don't have the engineering and the know-how of these larger teams to have the same equipment that they do. And if you take the bodies off of these cars and you look down and look at the differences, there are tons of differences in these cars. Now for 2021, we've already seen some pictures of the next, well, not really the next gen body, but it's just kind of a template. But I mean, they are going to more spec parts, which could be a good thing, and there's still going to be a lot of things that teams can tweak on, mess with, engineer. So we'll have to see what that looks like after next season is over.
Still there.
But these cars are not the same. They are not. Because if they were the same, do you think Corey LaJoie would be running 35th every week if he had the same car as Kyle Busch? There's no way. Like Kevin Harvick said, you can't make a slow car go fast, and that's just the simple truth. Back in the day, you could have a driver like a Dale Earnhardt, or Darrell Waltrip, or Jeff Gordon even, will that car to a top 5 when it wasn't really a top 5 car. That's no longer really the case. You might have a special driver like Kyle Busch. 2 laps to go. You might have a special driver like Kyle Busch who can eke out a couple of more spots than what that car's capable of. But that's not typical these days. You got what you got off the truck. And you go out there for practice on Friday and you don't have it, you already know you're in for a long weekend. There's no wedge, no tire pressures, no adjustments you're going to be able to make to take your car from a 25th place car to a top 10. It is not going to happen.
Stay on the bottom. All right, you're clear.
All right. I've been blabbing long enough. We're coming down to 1 lap to go. 1 to go. And we are in 22nd. I've been trying to get a 20th place finish. We're in 22nd. I'm okay with that. Better than I thought I would do. Which also means we can keep upgrading the car, get a little bit better, and it's still going to be competitive. My biggest concern with this title was that it was going to be way too easy with the AI again like it was last year, and that, thankfully, that is not the case. Now, I don't dare upgrade my car to 100 across the board because then it would be too easy. So, here we go. We're coming out of the last corner on the last lap, and we're in 22nd. I'm going to try to get up here and pass Suarez if I can. No, we got held up by Truex. 21st place finish in the Daytona 500. I'm okay with that. So thanks for coming out, watching the Daytona 500. Come on back. We're going to keep racing this season and see how well we can do.